ahead and start. Have you hit live yet?
We are already going.
Okay. Well, welcome. We are in the process of building out some of our strategies to help people do what we are ourselves learning how to do. True story is building wealth is something that we've recently become very passionate about. And I just kind of want to talk a little bit about some of my history. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. So my name's Joe Herrera, broker of the office. Taylor and I are business partners in about 20 different things we talked about this morning. Like, it's just crazy how many things we have going. Enjoy mentorship, enjoy coaching. We've ran our coaching program for years, mainly bringing agents in from other markets in the country and teaching them our system for lead conversion and lead generation and things like that. The number one thing, though, that I'd like to consider myself is a chain breaker. And this in no way is meant to be disrespectful to my family. On my dad's side, they're Mexican-American immigrants. They came from Veracruz, Mexico. And a lot of times you'll hear of people like breaking the law and like running from the police down to Mexico. Well, somehow my great-grandfather was doing some sort of import-export business in Mexico that he ended up having to flee to the United States. So he went to Chicago and then to LA. My grandpa was an Army veteran. He served in World War II. He was in the tank division in Italy. So he married Irish-American immigrant family. My grandma was a Gorman, originally O'Gorman, became Gorman. So I never went to Gorman High School here locally, but I claim it a little bit. But so my Mexican-Irish heritage runs deep. Some other traditions that my family has is my entire family, for the most part, lived paycheck to paycheck. Like, I don't know when someone didn't live paycheck to paycheck. So, growing up in a paycheck to paycheck environment, I was a horrible student, to be honest with you. I haven't yet made $1.9 million in a single year, but the year I do, you'll at least see a social media post, if not a book written called From 1.9 to 1.9, because I think that was my GPA when I graduated high school. Like, if you don't know what that is, that's like D+. Like, I barely graduated high school. Terrible student. My mom was a compulsive gambler, which living in Las Vegas is a terrible place to have a gambling addiction. And so she was a compulsive gambler. She left when I was about 11. She used to, Steve's ringer is the best of all time. But anyways, so my mom made agreements with me that when we would go grocery shopping, it would take her about 3 hours to grocery shop. And it wasn't that she was such an avid couponer. It was that we would always stop at the slot machines. And as a 10-year-old kid, she would tell me, if I didn't tell my dad that she was playing the slots, then I didn't have to do my homework. So now that 1.9 I graduated with becomes a little bit of a miracle that I even eked it out, right? So I had to learn, and still in the process of learning, how to break the chain of generational paycheck to paycheck living. And it's a tough chain to break. Some of us have had these conversations about your own family history, where you're like, my dad worked for this company and he lived paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes we had money to go on vacation, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes Christmas was good, sometimes it was bad. And so then the only true way to get off the paycheck to paycheck train is not through becoming rich. And we'll talk about that a little bit. The only way to stop living paycheck to paycheck is by acquiring wealth. So that's what we're going to do these classes every other week. We have 4 specific subjects we're going to talk about. And so Taylor's going to take next week, I've got this week. All right, so Grant Cardone says, convert your time into cash, and then take that cash and convert it into real assets that will provide passive income without your time. Real estate agents, much like dentists and billable hour lawyers, are famous for trading their time for dollars. Like, for most of you, you know, if you show a house and write a contract, you get a check. If you don't show a house and don't write a contract, you get nothing. If you show a house and don't write a contract, you get nothing. And so the only way for you to even live paycheck to paycheck is by showing a house and writing a contract. So it's kind of that principle that you have to convert your time into cash to start, but the challenge is, Taylor and I have talked about this over the years, I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 agents in their 60s or 70s that have been realtors forever. Like literally, we'll talk about the foundation of this city and back when it was so much better when the mob was running it and stuff. And so we'll hear these stories and then we'll say, well, what have you been doing now? And they're like, well, back in 2004, I was doing 40 units a year. I lived in a mansion down in Section 10. And now I'm struggling to do even 3 or 4 deals a year because my magnets and my calendars no longer work. And as the digital age has advanced, and it's honestly, it's kind of a sad conversation to have because these titans of the real estate industry in the 90s and early 2000s have completely been demolished by the technology age that we live in. And so our mission personally is to now help agents take cash, take their time, turn it into cash, and take that time, that cash, and turn it into wealth. So that when Jaden, who's 25, is 65, his story is completely different. Because right now Jaden kills it. And he'd be able to say, in 2019 I got my license, right? 19 I got my license. In 20 I closed 25 homes. In 21 he's going to do 30 this year, 35. I killed it. But then this happened, and now I'm a 65-year-old realtor chasing a paycheck, right? So, book recommendation, The Psychology of Money, amazing book. Helps you to think about money in a different way. Helps you to think about wealth building in a different way. Get your mind deprogrammed from some of the paycheck to paycheck lifestyles that we grew up in and gets us into the creation and generation of wealth. So, a lot of what we're going to talk about today comes from this book, and it starts with the hardest financial goal to get is to get the goalpost to stop moving. Now, what that means is, we got some seats up here, Tom. What that means is, how do you define financial success? I'll tell you, when I was Jaden's age, I was newly married. I think we had one kid. And to me, making $100,000 a year was complete financial success. Like if I could make 6 figures, I'm done. Like I've achieved it. I'll tell you now, at the tender age of 41, almost 42, if I make $100,000, I will file bankruptcy. And so it's like, I've moved my goalposts so far that in order for me to make ends meet, I have to succeed massively financially. And so I have, through the years, moved my goalpost quite a bit. And what this means is I've gotten nicer cars. I've gotten bigger houses. One quote I love is, luxury, once experienced, becomes necessity. I've experienced luxury. I love going on cruises. I love playing golf. So I keep moving the goalpost to where it's like, all right, well, in order to live my lifestyle, I have to make $170,000 a year. And man, wouldn't it be cool if I made 230? Then it'd be done. Then my 170 lifestyle, I'd have that, and then I'd have 50 grand a year to invest or put in the bank. But what happens when I make 230? I spend 230, and those luxuries have now become necessities, and I've moved the goalpost again. So part of establishing wealth from the beginning is realizing that you have to set the goalpost and hold true to it. So one of the financial principles that becomes important is, if you experience a luxury that now becomes a necessity, you have to experience growth in income and wealth generation to be able to compensate for that new necessity. So if you can pay cash for a Honda Civic and you decide you want a Lexus, how are you going to compensate so that it's not just the moving of a goalpost, but it's the creation of income and wealth that allows you to obtain that new necessity, right? All right, so financial success is not a hard science. It's actually a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know. So again, financial success is not a hard science. It's not rocket science. It's all about behavior modification. How are you going to modify your behavior in order to achieve the goals you have of wealth? And this comes down to paradigm. And this is something that has shifted quite a bit for Taylor and I would say over the last 10 years. I don't know when I got out of the paycheck to paycheck mindset, but I can tell you this. I have more wealth and make more money than I ever have, but I'm so grateful that I'm waking up earlier and working harder than I ever have as well. Like, I hop out of bed in the morning. Right now I'm doing CrossFit at 6:30, so it's more like I roll out of bed. But I get out of bed excited for the day because I'm no longer working for the next paycheck. If I don't work for a decent amount of time, my family will be fine. And so Taylor and I talked about this the other day. Like, I'm so grateful now that my motivation has changed from how do I get my next check to pay my mortgage and my cars to how do I build wealth for myself and my family. Now, my hope is that in a year or two, we're all talking about this, and I'm no longer talking about singular generational wealth. What I'd love to do is figure out how to build multi-generational wealth and how to teach my children wealth building principles and how to provide for them a system in which they can work hard and generate wealth themselves. But it all starts with setting your goalpost and then setting your behavior to match your goals so that you're not constantly having to modify your behavior because you're constantly modifying your goal. All right. So there are a million ways to get wealthy and plenty of books on how to do so, but there's only one way to stay wealthy. Okay? So wealth creation is there's libraries filled with wealth creation books. And forget about libraries. There's a myriad of infomercials that come on right around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning of how to gain wealth, right? Like, it's a tale as old as time. Like, here's how to become wealthy. The secret is not in becoming wealthy. The secret is in staying wealthy. And so it takes a combination of frugality and paranoia. So there is this cycle that happens that there is a personal cycle that I've gone through that as I achieve financial goals, I want to prove it to everyone else. The real estate industry is filled with Instagram pages and posts of flashy wealth. Really nice cars, really nice things that are attained. And to some degree there is truth that we as real estate professionals have to maintain a certain identity, because if Eric shows up to show a $2 million house in a car that's barely making noise and smoking, it's probably going to turn off the client. So to some degree, our image has to match what we're trying to portray, trust, and things like that. There has to be some of that, but I think we as an industry have gone way too far. So it's a combination of frugality and paranoia that allows us to stay wealthy once we've obtained that wealth. All right, so luck is when things that happen outside of your control have a bigger impact on outcomes than anything you did intentionally. So some examples of luck are what when it comes to wealth building? Winning the lottery, right? And there's TV shows that specifically detail the lives of the people who win lotteries. And something like 98% of them what?
Go broke.
They go broke. Because there is not that frugality and paranoia. They become wealthy, but they can't stay wealthy because they don't have the life skills that allow them to build wealth. So we talked about this yesterday in our team meeting, and I did this little math equation that I have found to be true in my life, and I'll tell you the story of two of my kids. So when our son, our 17-year-old son, was a freshman, he made the volleyball team, and he was stoked. Like, Porter is the greatest kid. Any of you that have met him, I love him. I showed him in the video yesterday with his weird sunglasses on. He's actually becoming like my pal. It's really fun. I've got like 8 months with him, maybe a year, until he's going to go do missionary service, and like, it's super cool to have this time with him. All right, freshman Porter played volleyball, and a standard volleyball stance is, knees. I can't really do that because of my squats I did this morning. But anyways, your knees kind of flexed, your hands up ready to receive or set or whatever you're going to do, right? Porter's standard stance his freshman year of volleyball was this. And he did this because he was super uncomfortable with his physique. He was playing volleyball with some kind of ripped guys, and as a freshman, he's like, got a little bit of a belly. And so he used to hold his shirt out like this when he was playing volleyball. Well, he then learned this equation that I'm learning. And it's very simply this, and this applies to our financial lives as well. Self-discipline over time creates confidence. Okay? So if you lack confidence in any specific area in your life, finances, your marriage, your health, your wealth, the only way you'll become confident is through self-discipline. Go back to the lottery winner. They win lottery so they gain wealth, but they have no self-discipline so they lose their wealth. We may get a weird, I may get a weird, I've been wanting to lose 15 pounds forever. Okay? Cue CrossFit at 6:30 in the morning. I may get a weird bug that lets me lose 15 pounds really quick. But if I don't have the self-discipline that allows me to maintain that loss, I will gain it right back. Cue crash diets. That's why they don't work. It's like you diet, you work really hard for a couple of weeks, you lose what you want to lose, you go on your cruise, you come back, and you probably gain more than you originally started with. It's because confidence all begins with self-discipline. Financially, Tom, you obviously work out really hard, so hard that you tore your bicep, right? You're very confident in your physique. I think you're very confident in your exercise routine. It's because over time, you've exercised a ton of self-discipline, and then enables you to have confidence. Risk is when things that happen outside of your control have a bigger impact on the outcomes than anything you did intentional. Any examples of this? Getting sued for something that you didn't intentionally do, but maybe a mistake was made. Hopefully we have errors and omissions insurance to help with that. Taylor, you and I went through one of these in 06, 07, 08. What was it?
The Great Recession.
Yeah, the Great Recession hit. Taylor and I were great realtors. The Joe Taylor group was like a year old. We knew everything at that point. And all of a sudden, we couldn't get any homes into contract. And all of our buddies were living the great life, and we were like, something's wrong here. Something isn't right. The builders, who right now won't pay you guys commission, were saying to us like, hey, bring your buyer. We'll pay you a 6% commission, 7% commission. We're like, this is awesome. Sell a home, a new home, which requires virtually no work, and get $45,000. This is awesome. But at the time, we were too young and inexperienced to understand what was actually happening. And all they were doing was bribing the realtors to bring the clients to pay for a home that, as the prices continued to decrease, we were all in a whole lot of trouble. So we cannot build wealth based on luck, and we cannot maintain wealth without minimizing risk, right? So those are two things to keep in mind as we move forward. All right. So the takeaway, number one, is pay the price. Your investments will all have a price. Can you afford to pay the price of volatility in your investment for a brighter future? Somebody grabbed me, we had a loss in the family a few days ago, and one of my dad's childhood friends grabbed me and said, you're so smart for being in real estate. And he said an adage that I had never heard. Maybe all you guys have heard this, I had never heard it before. He said, it's not about waiting to buy real estate. It's all about buying real estate and waiting, right? And I was like, have I been in this industry for 21 years? I've never heard that adage before. But he says it's kind of true. He lives in Southern California, Seal Beach. His dad has a place in Huntington Beach. He's like, his dad just passed away, and they're going to sell their dad's house that he's been in for 35 years. And I was like, how much do you think it's worth? And he's like, we'll probably get about $5 million. His dad probably paid $100,000 for it at some point. And you know what? He was probably underwater at some point. He probably refinanced in 06 for, $2.1 million. And then it went down to 1.5. And he was like, oh no, So it's all about every investment you have, there is a price to be paid. So then the question is, can you afford to pay that price, especially with volatility when that becomes involved. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal wealth building strategy. This is new because I've never thought about it before because I didn't realize that I have the ability to break the chain of paycheck to paycheck living. Now, while my paychecks have been bigger than my family is traditionally used to, I'm still tied to paycheck living until I begin to implement these principles in my life to build wealth over time. All right, so principle number 1 is actually what I'm going to talk about this week, which is building residual income. Principle number 2 is real estate investing, which Taylor's going to talk about in 2 weeks. So he's going to talk about investing. Lead conversion is where it all starts, and then stock acquisition is another piece to the puzzle. So all 4 of these principles are at play in my life today. I have residual income. I want to talk about the multiple ways to build residual income. I have been a pretty decent lead converter. Now, lead converter is everything from your dad has a buddy he works with, to an open house, to cold calling. Some of you receive leads from us. Like, in order to put a real estate transaction together that is not you, it involves the conversion of a lead. Even if it's your mom's friend she plays pickleball with, it is still conversion of a lead. Real estate investing. So Taylor and I started really hard about a year ago. This is the saddest saga of our real estate career. I don't know how many deals we passed up in our career. Hundreds, for sure, of deals that we should have done that we didn't. But to give you a little preview of the next 2 weeks, Taylor is going to be talking about our real estate investing strategy that we would love to partner with all of you on, or at least teach you how to do it for yourself. So we acquire properties. Some of them we paint, some of them we don't. Some of them we flip, some of them we owner finance. So we will literally buy properties, do nothing to them, resell them with owner financing. Any of you who have a social media account have been hit up by a buyer at one point or another that says, will you do owner financing on this property? And your standard answer is no. Your new answer is going to be, this one may not work, but I probably have some that do. Because Taylor and I have an entire library of properties we're willing to owner finance. So over the last 8 months or so, we've probably bought and flipped 10 homes. We've wholesaled maybe 5 or 6 homes, and we've purchased and owner financed. So basically, Taylor and I are now a mortgage company on 5 or 6 different properties that write us a check every month, a little check. And guess what happens when the AC goes out?
They fix it.
They fix it. When the plumbing breaks, they fix it. It's amazing. Guess who's responsible to make sure the landscaping doesn't look like crap? Them. How many calls have you received in the middle of the night saying, like, my toilet doesn't work?
Nothing.
0. So these are all the things that he's going to talk about in 2 weeks, how to build wealth through property acquisition. Wow, that looks bad. All right, you have residual bills. Why not have residual income? That's the truth. All right? I mean, I have bills that hit me every single month. From my Netflix, for some reason I have Netflix and Apple TV subscription and Hulu subscription, and it's like, and we have Cox Cable so we can watch the Golden Knights games. It's like we have so many different ways to watch TV. I hope my wife's not watching. We probably have $400 a month in TV subscriptions between Netflix and HBO, so we could watch. I think I wanted to watch the Tiger Woods golf thing, and it's like, and so I sign up for them and I forget. But they come calling every month. Netflix doesn't go like, hey Brian, how was this month for you? Did you close any deals? No? All right, well, hey, listen. Yeah, we'll put it on hold. Keep watching. The Office is now on Peacock, which is another subscription I have. Keep watching whatever you're watching, and we'll check back later. Like, good luck to you, buddy. It doesn't work that way. Like, my bills come for me every single month. Well, if I'm going to have monthly bills, why don't I have residual income? So after high school, the 1.9, I took a year and prepared myself. I went for 2 years and served as a missionary. When I came home, I was 21 years old. All I had in my pocket was about $1,000 and a diploma from Bonanza High School with a 1.9 GPA. So I had to decide, like, what am I going to do with myself? I had a mentor who helped pay for my missionary service that was in real estate, and I had another guy I knew that was in insurance. Being young, I was really attracted to the big paychecks of real estate. I've had other friends and family members take the other path into insurance. Now, the difference between our industries, I hope, are well understood by all of us in this room or watching online. Real estate, you can make $10,000 in 6 weeks for 10 hours worth of work. We have all done it, okay? So you made $1,000 an hour. Congratulations. That is the only money you will statistically make from that client for the rest of your life. If you're really, really good and you go to birthday parties and you send flowers and all that stuff, I don't even know, Taylor knows statistics better than I do, but maybe 25% of your deals will come back and do another deal with you. It's probably not even that good. So you have that single experience with that client. Now insurance is a whole different ballgame. You may not make $10,000 off of an insurance client for the rest of your life, but you may make $5,000 spread out over 20 years. So their game is, let me go get a whole bunch of clients that all pay me $15 a month, which sounds super tiny, until you get 3,000 clients. And all of a sudden, you're making $45,000 a month from your 3,000 clients, which is pretty awesome. So the hard truth is, in real estate, we all have residual bills, but we do not have residual income. So this is the Realtor for Life plan. Okay, this guy's not the 65-year-old guy that shows up in our office with no money, but this guy has figured out the secret. Obviously, Warren Buffett's a master. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. If you are active in the real estate industry today, you know 80-year-old agents who literally rely on that 4 or 5 commissions a year to eat. And that's sad. I can tell you, we will not let that happen on our watch. People may not listen to us, and they may tell us to take a hike, and they may not take our advice, but we're not going to go down without a fight to make sure that the agents that we associate with, when Jaden's 80, he will not be relying on a single 4 or 5 closings per year to feed his family. We just won't let it happen. So the Realtor for Life plan is not something that I believe in or subscribe to. All right, I think that's it. All right, so let's talk about residual income and the ways to create it. So the first way to create residual income is, I would say probably the easiest way to create residual income is to connect yourself in a system that allows you to benefit from the people you influence. So we'll call this revenue share. We recently have made the transition at our brokerage from Love Local Real Estate, the small indie brokerage, to Real Broker, the national brokerage. Now the reason we did it is because our relationship, Love Local Real Estate, was I don't even know the right term, like a singular beneficiary relationship. Meaning, Jaden closes a deal, and he keeps the vast majority of it, but he passes a percentage of it up to Taylor and I. And we have that type of relationship with 130 some odd agents. And that relationship lasts until somebody comes to Jaden and says, how about you come over to my singular relationship and you will pass a little bit less money up to me. And so Jaden goes, cool, I'm out. Jaden also has no other streams of income other than closing properties. Now, he may love Taylor and I enough here at Love Local Real Estate to say, I've got a buddy that might be a great realtor too. But Jaden has no financial interest in that endeavor. So the reason we made the transition over to Real Broker is because now Jaden is able to use his dynamic personality to say to a few individuals a year, you should come check out what we're doing. He honestly should believe that it's in the agent's best interest. Because now the agent closes a few deals a year and works with great people, has a beautiful office to come to, but that agent can benefit from the same things Jaden's benefiting from. Now, as Jaden introduces people to his company he loves, now there's multiple choices. Real Broker does it, EXP does it, Fathom does it. So there's other companies that have rev share principles built into them. The reason why it took us 5 years to come around to it is a great question. I don't know. We were approached by EXP years ago, and to be honest, I thought it was a gimmick. I've always been turned off by multi-level compensation systems. I talked my wife into doing ACN like 16 years ago. Do you guys remember ACN?
Our parents did that.
Your parents did it? And I was like, Jenny, you could kill it. You know, you have such a great personality, and all they have to do is use us for their long distance service provider, and maybe their cable and internet. It was so dumb. I think she made like one call. It was the biggest waste, okay? Taylor and I bought acai berry juice. Acai berry juice was awesome. It came in like a wine bottle. We're not wine drinkers, so it made us feel a little bit cultured. That went by the wayside. You worked for one of them when you.
Quick Start, which was like the baby of Amway.
Yeah.
Quick Start.
Mona V.
Mona V was the acai berry juice. Yeah. I actually got my wife the distributorship for. She's here somewhere. The watches with the cute bracelets. Bumble. She was a Bumble distributor, which was a multi-level compensation company. The nice thing about residual income-based real estate companies is you are not selling any product. You're not selling a coaching system. You're not selling, there's no markup on business cards. Like, you literally introduce people to a company, and because you introduce people to a company, I don't know all of the other compensation models, but at Real Broker, it's about $4,000 a year for each agent you introduce to the company. Like, that's a great way to make residual income. So why did Taylor and I do it? Is because we're tired of having our agents. Here's the tale as old as time. Jaden comes on to work with Taylor and I fresh out of real estate school. We give him a shot. We teach him, we train him, we give him leads, we manage all of his escrows. As soon as Jaden closes 18 deals in his first year, guess what happens?
Starts getting calls from other brokers.
Every broker in the valley goes, what the crap? Like, that kid's amazing. Hey, bud, come over here. We'll pay you a little bit more money. You could have more free time. You don't have to work as hard. And the grass is so much greener. We wanted to stop that problem. And the only way we could stop that problem was either completely restructure Love Local Real Estate and figure out how to get licensed in all states in the union, or partner with a company that already had it in place. Because the only solution to that problem with Jaden is giving him ownership. Now, there is no longer a unilateral relationship between Jaden and us where we own the company and he closes deals. We are both shareholders in the exact same company. So he's trying to build the exact same thing I'm trying to build. And I'm really excited about it. So residual income can come in the form of rev share. Number two, it can come in the form of investment properties. So Taylor and I currently, you would know the number, I think we're making $4,500 a month, $5,500 on owner finance.
5,000.
So we're making $5,000 a month. Okay? Now, it didn't come without our own financial investment, but as we run the annual or the amortized rate of return on our money, if we invest $100,000, we're going to end up with at least 22% return on that money over the, so that annual return, if you go to a bank account, you'll get about 2%. Through investment properties, we're getting about a 20% annual return on our money, which is huge.
Yeah, and it's funny that 22% number with Warren Buffett up on the screen. His annual return that he's gotten since he got heavy in investing has been 22%.
Yeah.
So 22% is a really good number. Warren Buffett's worth what, 100 million now, 90 billion? But 22% is phenomenal. Most mutual funds you can get 8 to 14 depending on how good you are at fighting those, but 22% is a great number.
Yeah, I love it. All right, number three. Another way to build residual income in real estate is through team growth. So that can happen in one of two ways. One of the things Taylor and I loved, once we opened Love Local Real Estate, we became very abundance mindset with all of our agents. Like, we have our team, we own the brokerage. And so for us, if Jaden comes to us and says, hey guys, I want to open my own team, guess who his two biggest cheerleaders will be? Me and Taylor. Prior to owning this company, we would have not, that wouldn't have landed on us super soft. But now, we've actually built into our structure where Jaden has agents that he's mentoring. So he gets a little residual income from his mentorship. And Ryan is now a mentor, so he's going to get a little bit of residual income from his mentorship. So team building and or mentorship of agents is one way to build residual income. And so what I mean by that is you may be on vacation and you may get a call from an agent you're mentoring and you have a mentor relationship with, and they may need your help for a few minutes, and you may get off the phone and you may realize I just made $500 or whatever it is from that mentorship agreement you have either as a team leader or as a mentor. So the cool thing, again, going back to being a part of a revenue share company is if you build your own team, like let's say Eric goes and gets 5 agents, he creates the Eric Wilson group, Taylor and I are all in, he starts feeding those agents, and the best worst case scenario happens, meaning one of his agents becomes a rock star and does 30 deals, 40 deals, 50 deals in a year, and comes to Eric and says, thank you so much, Eric, I'm going to create the Billy Jones team, right? Eric, if he's in a structure that allows him the freedom to do it, Eric can now become that guy's biggest cheerleader. Because of the revenue share principles, every agent that Billy Jones brings onto his team compensates Eric still. So even if the mentorship principle ends, where the guy's learned, grown, and wants to do his own thing, Eric still has a vested interest in that individual's business. So then if I'm Eric, what is my mission? My mission is to create as many mentorship, as large of a team, and as much rev share principles as I possibly can, while I maintain my main thing. Because if we go back to Grant Cardone, converting your time into cash and then taking that cash and converting it into real assets that will produce passive income without your time is the name of the game. But so many people try to skip step 1, which is closing deals. Like, I hate to break it to you, but as real estate professionals, the onus rests upon you to close transactions. And that singular instance creates a whole tidal wave into the other principles of wealth building. If you do it right. Like if you close transactions and you're building some revenue share and you're acquiring some stock and you're investing in properties and looking for investment opportunities, you will build wealth. The problem is, psychologically, a lot of us never get to where we understand that the hardest financial skill is to get the goalpost to stop moving. So we fall into the same old same, which is, man, if I could make 100 grand, I'd be killing it. If only I could make 130. You know what actually would be really cool is like 175 or maybe 200. And it just keeps moving and it keeps moving and it keeps moving. Yes, we enjoy a greater quality of life, but the principle never changes. If we live paycheck to paycheck at 50K, we're going to live paycheck to paycheck at 150K. We're going to live paycheck to paycheck at 500K. Like it never stops unless we learn that principle of self-discipline applied over time creates confidence. Thoughts, questions, concerns? Even I would take a smart remark if you have it.
What was number 2?
Number 2 is investment property. Sorry, you have to have an advanced degree in like archaeology to be able to understand my handwriting. But yeah, number 2 is investment property acquisition. Anybody? Thoughts? Concerns?
I just have one thought. I remember when I was in my 20s and I'd go to school, kind of invest now, and then people will chart, you put it into the calculator, and then by the time you're 65, you'd have $10 million or whatever. And because I didn't do that in my 20s, now, I guess where I'm going with all of this is it's never too late. Warren Buffett, I was reading something on him, and when he was, I think he's worth like 90 billion now, but it was 95% of that wealth came after the age of 65. So after he was collecting Social Security in his retirement age is when he made 95% of his wealth. So just know as you hear these things, it's not too late. I mean, Joe and I just told you, we've been at this for almost 20 years as a team, and we've really just barely started going hard after the wealth building part of it. So it's not too late. We've got some really cool ways to really, I think, jumpstart it and just skip some of that drudgery, that early long-term stuff, and get you right to some massive returns.
I love it. All right, one pet peeve and one jealousy. Okay? So my pet peeve is this is Taylor and I, and this is you. A lot of you are not using your relationship with us properly. You're not bouncing things off of us. You're not coming and going like, hey, thinking about doing this, what do you think? You know, hey, how can I do this? Or hey, I've got this friend, they're at XYZ company, and I think they would really benefit from these principles, or what should I say? Okay? We try to have as open door policy as possible. So if you're thinking of something, bounce it off of us. You can always text us and say, hey, how would I such and such, such and such? Or hey, I just came from a listing, and this place is a crap hole. Like, I'm pretty sure they did meth. And based on our meeting yesterday, my response would be, mo meth, mo money. You know, like, let's buy it. And so, like, part of the problem is you're not using your relationship with us. And that's my pet peeve. Taylor and I are here. We have a vested financial interest in your growth. Now, we want to teach you how to have a vested financial interest in other people's growth. One of my favorite movies in the world is Fred Claus. Has anyone ever seen Fred Claus? And Vince Vaughn goes out on the corner. He creates his own Salvation Army. He calls it People Helping People. And it was completely illegal. This is completely legal, I promise. But we have a vested interest in your growth, and we want to teach you how to gain a vested interest in other people's growth. And then once you get a vested interest in other people's growth, our next instruction is how to teach you to teach them to have a vested interest in other people's growth. And then all of a sudden you come up for air in 4 or 5 years and you go, this is pretty cool. I didn't have a great month production-wise, but I had a great month financially. Because it becomes less about your ability. While it starts with your ability to convert leads and close deals, it doesn't have to end there when you're 65 or 70 years old. You may be a mentor. You may be a coach. You may be doing a lot of teachings and trainings. Because to be honest, the number of doors I open for buyers on an annual basis is single digits. Like, I do not sell a lot of real estate. But I make a lot of money. And it's because I've learned how to leverage my relationships to where I have a vested interest in all of your business, and I want to teach you to do the same thing. So my pet peeve is you're not using us. I've gotten to where I no longer am jealous of looks. I don't really get jealous of cars anymore. I drive a truck. I miss my Tesla. But if somebody shows up in a Lamborghini, all I see is a huge payment. Like, I'm not really jealous of that anymore. I'm not jealous of relationships. I have a great wife. We have a great marriage. I love my kids. My kids are amazing. There's only one thing that I really get jealous of anymore. Does anyone want to take a stab at what it is? Golf. Well, no, I'm actually a great golfer. So somebody said dance and golf. I'm actually a great dancer. I'm a great golfer. Yeah. I am jealous of Jaden for one specific reason. Jaden, what do you think it is?
You need to start sooner.
Youth.
It's time. I'm jealous of his time. I wish Taylor and I understood this stuff when we were in our 20s. We were killers. Like, we've been doing a lot of real estate deals for a long time. I should be really wealthy. And so I'm putting these principles on steroids at 41. I'm really jealous of Jaden because he's doing it at 25. And so this is my, parting thoughts. Use us and use your time really wisely. All of us have. There's an exercise you can go through if you really want to make wise use of your time. Do the math. And by that I mean, about 3 months ago, maybe 4, my son came to me. He's a teenager and he drives. And he's super social. So we don't see him a lot. And he was playing club volleyball. And he came to me and said, Dad, I'm kind of getting sick of volleyball. And to be honest, I was sick of volleyball too. And he said, what if we just started playing golf? I stopped playing golf probably 7 or 8 years ago. Like literally didn't pick up a club. And I told him, I said, if you stop playing volleyball, I will get us a golf membership and we'll play 2 or 3 times a week. So people will go, well, Joe, you're trying to build wealth. Why are you playing so much golf? The reason is because I did the math. Not the math of how much a golf membership costs, and not even the math of how much the volleyball club costs. I did the math of how much time I have left with my son. He will be gone next summer. Like literally this time next year, he will be either preparing for or have already left for missionary service for 2 years. And then when he comes back, he's going to want to get married and raise his own family. Like I literally have a year left. So what did I buy? I bought his time. So we now play golf 2 or 3 days a week. And it's amazing. And we have a ton of fun. And we talk about girls, and we talk about money, and we talk about school, and we talk about golf, and we talk about his future, and we talk. So if you really want to put your life on steroids, do some simple math of how many summers you have left with your kids. Troy and I just lost a stepmom and a mother-in-law. Like, I mean, who would have known? You know, like, we went to Disneyland right before the pandemic. We went to the Neon Nights at Disneyland. And I'm sure we had some good conversations and stuff. But if your parents are getting old, do the math. And say like, man, how many more Christmases do I have? How many more summer vacations do I have? As your kids grow, for those of you who are empty nesters now, you'll be able to look back and go like, man, I wish I would have done the math. So, as jealous as I am of Jaden's time, I've now become very focused on my time. I gave up hockey. I loved hockey. I was the player of the year in my men's club. It was awesome. But it took 2 or 3 nights a week away from my family. And I did the math. And it just didn't make sense anymore. I couldn't justify it. And so now, those 2 or 3 nights a week turned into 2 or 3 afternoons with my son. It's because I did the math. What does all this mean? It means that you guys are in a great position. Like Taylor and I have a vested interest in your life, and we want to help you be successful. We want to help you achieve the success we're trying to achieve. We want you to avoid the mistakes we're trying to avoid. The biggest mistake was probably a billboard, so don't make a billboard. Because we've done that, and it was terrible. I don't even think we got a single call on our billboard ad we had on the 215. So we've been there, we've done that, we've tried it. Almost everything. So if you're thinking of things, and I'll just end with my pet peeve, use us to help fuel your growth because we want to partner with you. And to be honest, the last little soapbox I'll get on, Taylor and I have been 50-50 partners for 18 years. So if I'm ever insensitive about real estate commission splits and the obsession our industry has with 100%, do you know the last time I got 100% commission on anything? Like 2004. Taylor came on in 04, like summer of 04 as a buyer's agent. We created the Joe Taylor Group in 05, and ever since then, the most I've ever received on any deal I've closed in 16 years is 50%. And I make a ton of money, and I'm building a ton of wealth. There's great value in partnership. And so I hope you see that as you build your business. So 2 weeks from today, 11 o'clock, it's Taylor's turn. He's going to talk about investments, what to look for, what to do. You're going to come across deals and you're going to go, I don't have the money to take this down. Guess what? We do. You're going to come across a weird deal that you don't know how to work it because the 2 kids are fighting because mom just died and they won't agree on how to split revenues. We know how to do that. And so Taylor is a master in investment properties and how to do it. It's because it's what if you ever walk by his door and it's closed, he's working on some weird formula of how to make a deal work because he runs 30 or 40 deals across his desk every month. And so you don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't have to be up at 2 in the morning learning how to do it. What you need to do is take deals to Taylor and let him tell you if there's a deal to be done, and it will benefit you financially. So, thank you.